ghost keyboard? But not on here. What? Anyways. Oh, that's my office. This is not available. Well, I can't even get back into my office anymore.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Where's the meeting room? Is the memo here on the floor? Perhaps?
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I like what? I like work, I just hate my boss. That's a pretty brave cup to have at the office. Oh, I turned off that computer. It still doesn't look like a meeting room. I hate Mondays. This kind of looks like a meeting room. There's a board. Some tubes. Did they die of...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh, did he? Did he, though? What do you guys think? Do we go left or right? Beard said, fuck what the narrator says.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Maybe I do. Beard said, I can smell the snacks. They're somewhere.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Yeah, looks good. Can I open these blinds?
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
I mean, clearly these are stressful times.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
God, it's so fucking personal. Coffee nut. Didn't know coffee
But
could
at
do
last,
that.
he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Aww. Okay. Do we want to go that way or do we want to go this way? said to go here, but I kind of feel like, what if there's other cool rooms that are unexplored? Spent too much time in the break room and people thought he was obsessed with it. All right, boys, left or right? I don't know. He wants us to go in there. It kind of looks creepy in there. Yeah, let's go in here.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Oh, jeez. Do not lie. If you're lying right now, stop. That's... interesting. Warning, do not jump from the cargo lift while it is in motion. Will cause death. Gotcha. Noted. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift, $1,000. Penalty for jumping off the cargo lift, $5,000. You're gonna tell me you're gonna charge my loved ones $5,000 for me jumping off of this fucking lift?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot
I didn't
here.
push any buttons.
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Really?
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
For her. Wow. For her. Tell me, what do I do now?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself.
For her.
To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Damn, he's got a woman waiting for him? How rude. So which way do I go then? Which way do I go? Holy shit.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Okay. Sorry, boys. My lady waits.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Bitch. The fuck?
Gotcha. Oh,
Wow.
come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
I don't fucking trust you anymore, bitch. Nah.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
No way. Can't tell me what to fucking do.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Is she about to fucking stab me? Bitch. Punch your fucking face. Nope. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna smoke this weed. Do some squats while I wait. Damn. You really have no choice here?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Kidding me?
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
A game with a baby? The fuck?
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Fucking hate you, stupid, basic bitch.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button,
Oh, for fuck's
do
sake.
not do it.
You know what? Just because I think this guy's a fucking douche.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
You could maybe be a little bit nicer or something.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And
What?
Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
What? Aha! Okay. Listen here, Mr. Cheeky game narrator.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Nobody bothers to close up for the day. Received.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
God, the fucking urge is real. The urge is so real right now. Whatever. You guys are gonna run up the power bill in the whole office.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Do not alter without consulting whiteboard manager. Termination Tuesdays? That's awful. Pranking floor 5 meeting? What to do about 432? Don't tell 422 about my meeting. The hell? Okay. Hire someone to synergize papers. Papers are too synergized. Fire paper guy. Hire someone to fire the paper synergizing guy. Keep Chris out of the broom closet. Jesus Christ. This sounds a lot like if the people that I've been working on my stories with had a physical office. This is probably what it would look like. Solving our personal conflict with you.
Stanley just stood there doing nothing at all. He seems to think I have nothing better to do with my time than to sit around and describe every fascinating little detail of his inability to do anything. This is why Stanley and I are on such good terms.
Wow. You're so fucking rude. You're rude. I was talk less, do unbelievable, amazing work all the time every day, no expectation of promotion and recognition. Don't get fired. Bitch, I was trying to read the slides. I didn't even get a moment to, like, broom closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Sure, there's nothing here.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
What's downstairs? Damn. Just curious. I just really want to know. And I'm afraid that we won't be able to come back because stuff keeps closing. What do you guys think? Can I jump off the roof? Oh. Maybe. This is as high as it goes? Yeah. What is this? Executive. Jesus Christ. Executive? Yeah, I said it right the first time. Dumbass. Executive bathroom. Can I open this window and hurl myself out of it? Office assistant is ass. Those are panels.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication
I'm really
of any
not
human
even that
life.
surprised at this
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Okay, well, this looks like a secret door. It's not, it's the panels. Fireplace.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Bro, I'm gonna smoke this weed first, because the people requested it.
2845.
Yeah, I heard him. I heard you. What's up, machine? I'm currently being harassed by this.
But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in. And the door
What?
just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Doing nothing. There's no flashlight. Sucks. Insulation. Asbestos. I'm assuming we're supposed to go into the elevator. Sounds like a rickety ass elevator. I'm not gonna
Descending
lie.
deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Whoa. Seems like a little bit dangerous to be here.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large
Hell
door that
no.
read Mind Control
You're crazy.
Facility.
You're nuts. Fuck. Escape? Yeah, obviously.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
You're just saying that. You're just saying that because you don't want me to escape. That's what I think.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
I think that you are a...
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
You know what? You're full of shit. You're like a psycho robot. Insane. You're the reason people are afraid of AIs. Wow, I'm Superman now.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world was. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Adios, motherfucker. What?
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Wow. But... What? What do you mean?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
I mean... He was rude. So we have a nice
When
lady
every
now?
path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Yes. Nature paintings. These are some pretty nice paintings.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Huh?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another?
No.
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now. It'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
Wow. Well. What is going on? I'm so confused right now. Did my game crash? Oh. Okay. Very clever, gotta say. Alright.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Oh,
What could it mean?
shut up.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Perhaps. Perhaps I simply missed a memo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Nah, because you're a dick.
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Fucking wow, bro.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
This guy's cheeky.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Of my own free will, I'm doing this, by the way.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's co-workers.
Not surprised
The
at all.
lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen. And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Basically, you've been holding me captive this whole goddamn time. Oh, I'm assuming I get to push this button now. Maybe I can just leave. Can I leave? myself off the edge.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It
I'm
couldn't
not
be
surprised
true.
at all.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Yes.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Oh, fuck. I smell a puzzle. I'm not good at those. I mean, like, sometimes, but this one looks frustrating. Okay, well, I guess... How do I... Facility power. That ought to do it if I just shut the whole thing down, right? Shouldn't even have to push any buttons.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Yes.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Well, is it?
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange
I do
building
wonder about the
hold?
coworkers.
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Aww. Yay!